You know, it's kind of rare, even today. But back then, it's kind of rare as well, especially with live action or in this case animated shows. Because mainly, you would not get an episode with a identical, if not similar, presentation until either the end of the current season that the first one appeared in, or until the next season or following seasons afterwards. But when it came to Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers, we did get that. And of course I'm talking about Double O Chipmunk and the other episode, Mind Your Cheese and Q's. Which is significant because, as I've talked about with Double O Chipmunk, both of them took the Rangers out of the comfort zone. You know, with Double O Chipmunk, it was for a majority of the episode because Gadget wanted Dale to feel better because we got to see a side of Dale we don't normally see. That's a very inventive, creative, ingenious side of him. So Gadget wanted to do something to make him feel better because, in my opinion, she understood probably more than anybody what it feels like to be ridiculed. Basically be laughed down and, basically made fun of and, have their feelings hurt because all they're trying to do is contribute to society or contribute to the team in their own unique way. But when it came to Mind Your Cheese and Q's, of course, the similar premise we had with Double O Chipmunk was only utilized in the second and third act of that episode. And that was mainly to, try to find out why the adversary in that episode, Rat Capone, was basically taking up all of the milk, all the dairy products, the cheese, if you will, why he was doing this, how did he get access? And also to free that so that everybody, not just the mice, but the city has, their cheese, back in, the dairy products back in. And this created, in my opinion, a domino effect because the following year, we saw a similar premise to Mind Your Cheese and Q's with bringing Down Babyface. When Baloo, wanting to clear his name, had himself, Kit, and Rebecca disguise themselves as mobsters. But the trend would continue again, but it wouldn't be for another 2 years when we got to Goof Troop in the Puppy Love episode, where Peg went in disguise as her son's date. But the question is, why would they do this? Why did, Rescue Rangers become the catalyst to start all this? Well, again, as I've talked about before, I think it was to take the Rangers, well, all these characters, I should say, out of the comfort zones that we as fans know them for, and kind of show a side of them that we don't normally see. And to me, I think they did a great job. Obviously the more memorable portions of these episodes, I should say, were the female characters. And I'm not saying that as a male fan, if you will, but I'm saying that as a fan in general. Because even the female fans, pretty much will tell you that the more memorable parts of these episodes were the female characters going out of the comfort zone. Because if you would have told somebody with Rescue Rangers, at the very beginning, if you would have told them that Gadget, during the, I guess you could say, second season, quote unquote, of the show, that she would don a red dress, red high heels, a necklace, a bracelet, a very blonde wig, a very whitish blonde wig and all that, don her face and makeup and basically act very sultrous, seductive and all that, so just so she can make Dale feel better, because they would, she had come up with a spy game. If you would have told people she was going to do that at the very start of Rescue Rangers, when they first premiered on Disney Channel in '89, no one would have believed you. Because they got so accustomed to her up to that point that they never thought that outside of maybe wearing her jammies or, her nightgown, if you will, or just like a t-shirt and, a t-shirt and shorts, crop top and shorts, if you will, that you wouldn't see anything, you wouldn't see anything else. You wouldn't see her don anything else. And here came Double O Chipmunk. And you might think, okay, it's a one-time deal. We're not going to see it again. Well, then all of a sudden, within maybe that same time frame, that same week, if you will, because that's how it's looked at, Double O Chipmunk could be on a Monday, Mind Your Cheese and Q's could be on a Friday. But within that same time frame, week time frame, if you will, you get her doing it again, but only in the second and third act of Mind Your Cheese and Q's as part of a way to, again, along with Dale and Chip, try to find a way to basically, capture Rat Capone and basically free up the dairy, the dairy products and all that, the milk products, because there's a cheese shortage, there's a milk shortage and all that, and it's causing prices to rise. So So again, if you would have told somebody, at the beginning of that series that she was going to do that she was going to don the makeup and the dress and all that twice, especially within the span of 1 week, a 5-day week, nobody would probably have believed you. The same with TaleSpin. If you would have told them, when that show began, if you would have told them from the very first time we saw Rebecca in, what was it, part 3, I think, part 3 of Plunder and Lightning, if you would have told everybody, I think it was part 3 or part 2, I've got to go back and look, but if you would have told everybody that this character, who became very popular, very beloved, basically became the love interest for Baloo, if you would have said that during the middle run of the series, she was going to pull a gadget. She was going to pull a gadget, if you will, and basically don, in this case, a green sparkly dress. And do her hair up in a very starlet-like, manner. And don lipstick and blue eyeshadow, if you will, along with a boa. If you would have told people she was going to do the same thing that Gadget did in Rescue Rangers, in TaleSpin, if you would have told people this character that debuted, in the 3rd episode of, the series, of the Plunder and Lightning miniseries, of the Plunder and Lightning movie, if you would have said that this character is going to do that, again, no one would have believed you. No one would have said, not going to happen. No one would have said, oh yeah, that's going to happen. No one would have bought it. No one. No one would have, believed that was going to happen. They'd be like, nah, she's not going to change. She might put on a dress and all that here and there, but she's not going to change. Guess what happens? We come to the episode Bringing Down Babyface, and it happens. She ends up doing what Gadget did. So yeah, so yeah, it was like, to me, I think this was all done to, take the characters, in another direction, to show that there are more to these characters than just as you see them. And again, the more memorable things were the female characters, not just for male fans, but for all fans, male and female. Their change in presentation, for, the whole episode, like Double O Chipmunk, or at least the 2nd and 3rd act, like Mind Your T's and Q's or Rescue Rangers, and Bringing Down Babyface or TaleSpin. Their change in presentation is what really surprised a lot of people, because again, like I said, if you would have told somebody at the beginning of when the shows began that this was going to happen, they wouldn't have believed you, because they became so accustomed, and all of a sudden, here you are. Same with Goof Troop. If they would have said, oh yeah, Peg's going to do something similar in the series, no one would have believed you. The way Peg was presented, no way they would have believed you. Come the episode Puppy Love, 2nd, 3rd act in, what happens? She does something very similar, and it's to help her son out in this case. But yeah, it's like but I know this sounds like I'm rambling and all that, and I do apologize. I'm trying to do this so I got opportunity and everything, which is why I sound a little off at times and maybe a little pausing here and there. So I do apologize. But to me, I think, again, as I mentioned, I think this is why they did it. They did it because they wanted to show that there was more to these characters than just as you would, become accustomed to seeing. There was more to them than just, Gadget in her mechanic overalls outfit. There's more to Rebecca than just being in her regular, everyday casual business attire and everything. There's more to Peg than just being a household mom, real estate agent. And to me, I always looked at that and I'm like, I always look at that, and especially looking back on it now, I'm like, this is a brilliant move to do, because, you got to change things. You got to take characters out of the comfort zone, out of the comfort zone that fans know them for, and basically say, here's Gadget as a femme fatale. Here's Rebecca as a mall, as a mobster mall, if you will. Here's Peg as pretending to be a potential love interest for her son, and all that, is to show you they have more depth. They have more depth. And it's not just, the female characters, of course. You had Double the Chipmunk, Chip and Monterey trying to portray their roles. You had Chip, Dale portraying their roles in Mind Your T's and Q's. Baloo and Kid portraying their roles in Bringing Down Babyface and so on. So to me, it wasn't just the female characters, it was all the characters that got put through this. But again, the more memorable portions were the female characters. It was Gadget becoming a femme fatale in a mobster mall, not once but twice. It was, Rebecca doing it and bringing down Babyface. It was Peg taking on the role of a quote unquote love interest date for her son, and everything. To me they did this because of the fact that they wanted to show these characters doing more than what they will know or they become accustomedly known for. And I think that was a brilliant move. I really think it was. I really think it was a very brilliant move for them to do that. And has it continued on? Yeah, I think it definitely has continued on. There's a lot of shows, even by Disney, by Disney standards, or by Disney period. And there's other shows outside of Disney, other, live action, animated shows that, take characters out of the comfort zone. I mean, The Simpsons, over the past, decade, if not past 5 years maybe, if not more, has started to take characters like Marge and everything out of her comfort zone. Characters like Lisa out of her comfort zone, Bart out of his comfort zone, Homer out of his comfort zone. They're taking them and putting them in these different environments. I mean, you take a look at, Gumball and the news and the continuation, the wonderful weird world of Gumball. Basically, the second, third episode in, you're taking Nicole out of her comfort zone and everything. And so on with her befriending an AI because, she feels neglected by her family at first, So it's one of those situations to where basically this is something that is always going to continue even on for the next how many years, how many decades, who knows. But the reason it's done is mainly to show that there's more to the characters than meets the eye. There's more to them than meets the eye, period. And, and to me, I think, honestly, going back and looking at it, Rescue Rangers, TaleSpin, and to an extent Goof Troop did it best. Rescue Rangers and TaleSpin, to me, did it probably better than anything because, again, you would not really expect the characters to be like that. Especially the female protagonist. You would not expect Gadget to be, acting the way she did for Dale in Double O Chipmunk as a femme fatale spy, or acting like a mobster mole like she was in Mind Your Cheese and Q's. Same with Rebecca. You would not expect that whatsoever, but yet here it was, to show you that there was more to the characters than you were accustomed to. But yeah, this is something that has, that I think was done probably better than it's ever been done with Rescue Rangers and TaleSpin, as far as me growing up, in that time frame, and even today. Even today, I don't think anybody could match what Rescue Rangers and TaleSpin gave us, period. And it's still something that's going to continue. It'll be still something that continues till this day. And there's a lot of shows that we've been fans of that have done it, and will continue to do it. But let me know what your thoughts are, guys. What did you first think about, what was your first thoughts, I should say, when you saw Gadget become the femme fatale she was in Double O Chipmunk, and then sort of, replay that role to an extent in Mind Your Cheese and Q's, which again showed up within the same, the same week, Monday through Friday time frame. Because like I said, Double O Chipmunk on Monday, Mind Your Cheese and Q's on Friday. Let me know what your thoughts are when you first saw her as the femme fatale in Double O Chipmunk, and then sort of replaying that role in Mind Your Cheese and Q's in the second and third act of that episode. Also, let me know what your thoughts were when you first saw Rebecca doing something similar and bringing down Babyface. As well as what was your thoughts to an extent with Peg doing what she did for her son in Puppy Love. Let me know what your thoughts are on that. How did you ever think, in fact, even let me ask you this. Did you even think when those shows debuted, that, these characters, not just the female characters, but all of them, but primarily the female characters, would be put in this position? Did you think that was going to happen? Let me know. Love to hear from each and every one of you on that. And until next time, guys, do me a favor, like the video, ring the bell for notifications, subscribe to the channel, click on the links in the description to find my content elsewhere outside of YouTube. Also, ring the bell for notifications to find out when videos show up. And also, guys, like I said, click on the links in the description to find my content elsewhere outside of YouTube. As well, click on the Teespring store link at the bottom to get merchandise you can't get anywhere else. But guys, give me your thoughts on what I had to say here, and until then, I am out.